Hi, I'm Yamuna, aka Hinduitive, and I'm here to intuitively guide you through some astrology. Okay, so let's get right into it. This weekend, relationships are under fire. Emotions are high, things are going to be really fuzzy. We have a lot of Pisces energy in the air. Think slip-ups, think illusion, think haze. We have Mercury stationing direct in Pisces, and it sounds like a relief, right? I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, thank God Mercury is stationed direct. And I don't mean to burst that bubble. It's just that technically it's not at all over until the shadow is complete around May 1st. The way you want to think about Mercury in Pisces, like you were walking a tightrope, and then all of a sudden there's a platform, you're on the part where there's like a platform under you, and then you slip and fall back. So this is where we have to be really careful about a lot of slip-ups happening. That can be really frustrating because you want things to feel normal, but if you've been here, April is just, it's not our month for that. I really caution you against jumping the gun on anything that you were waiting to commit to until now, especially if you've recently gotten back into a relationship or you're trying to start a new relationship. Now is just not the time. Pisces is the main energy that's around us as far as the planets are concerned. And Pisces is also the sign that is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is the planet of illusion, of haze, of dreaming, but also of the ocean, right? It's the planet and sign, Pisces, of flowing through things, but also the ocean is 70% unexplored. It's that kind of feeling. It's the tip of the iceberg versus what is actually underneath the surface. So this weekend, especially with this full moon, you want to be careful about where you slip up and how you slip up. This is especially potent energy for drunk texting your ex, drunkenly saying something that you regret, the kind of energy when somebody says how they've actually been feeling about you. It might feel like it's out of nowhere, this communication, but the truth is they've felt this way for a really long time. At Hinduitive, I like to call this a do not talk shit week or a DNTS week. And especially this weekend is a DNTS weekend. If you have been gossiping, it's going to come back around. The upside of that is that with the full moon in Libra on Saturday, a lot of things will be illuminated for you. You will all of a sudden realize what people in your life have been saying or even just believing about you. On one hand, this could be really uplifting. With the chaos of the other energy, I think it has the potential to be quite hurtful if you're not careful. That is why I, for the rest of the month, outside of perhaps like a celebratory toast, am not going to be drinking for the rest of April. When Neptune and Pisces are involved this way, especially if you struggle with addiction, you really, really want to be careful about slipping up or falling back into that addiction or pattern. Again, just because Mercury has stationed direct, you have to remember that these are huge planets. Mercury is not just the word that you see on your screen. It is a massive planet and it has a lot of gravitational force. So when we're talking about astrology, we are not talking about the idea of things. We are talking about the literal degree to which planets are moving. And I feel the need to say that because I really notice an uptick in people talking about the occult and astrology a little too casually. It is something that has been extremely colonized by the West. I know, yes, everything has been colonized. You want to be careful because this is actually something that, at least in my tradition, is the religion and is thousands and thousands of years old. Be careful. Don't, especially Pisces energy, don't just say stuff because you saw, that your daily horoscope said that Mercury is stationing direct. So again, with all of this Pisces energy, Pisces tends to be a bit like dreamy and flowy. It's really important right now, especially think about all the articles we're reading, the things we're sharing, how divisive everything already is. You can't argue about whether or not the planet or the transit is exact or if it's at a degree or not. It is. Yeah. Exactly what I just did, that's the energy of this Mercury direct. It's saying the quiet part out loud. It's saying the thing that has been bothering you for a long time. There are a couple of other transits coming up this weekend that are very core wound activating. It's just a weekend to be careful. So one good thing, or not one good thing, there are good things, but one notably good thing is that Venus is in Pisces and this is her exaltation. And then the full moon is in Libra, and Libra is also ruled by Venus. So even though Pisces and Libra they're never really in the same room, they just can't see each other, right? In the circle, Pisces can't like peek and see Libra. Even though they can't really see each other, it still means that the full moon, and the full moon, right, is when the full moon is exactly opposite the sun. That's what makes it so bright. The full moon is in Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus. Venus is in Pisces, and Venus loves Pisces and loves Libra. So anything that has to do with the moon, our emotions, nurturing, motherhood, our intuition, is exalted or being illuminated by the added Venus energy, because then Venus in Pisces is very much like, this is where I really shine. This is where I feel the most feminine for the sake of the planet Venus, not for gender. This is where I feel the most receptive, the most in flow. It's like you might really be feeling yourself. There's a chance for this weekend to be so healing and for you to feel so seen. Full moon, sun is shining on those feelings, and your value system will be highly questioned, and you will potentially, hopefully without volatility, will see where your value systems align with, again, Libra friendships, like with people that you love. And the thing is too, that we are in such an intense period because Venus is also hanging out with Saturn. So when Venus and Saturn are in the same space, Venus, the planet of art and love and expression and money and values, is hanging out with Saturn, who is the planet of discipline and karma and routine. Think of any relationship. So this could be a new business partnership that's starting. This could be like a little situationship that started. But again, consider these red flags. If they've started during Venus retrograde, you really want to take your time. Keep up with your feelings. Keep a not a lid on your feelings, but observe them. Try not to dive into them too much, especially again, Pisces, the ocean. But when Venus and Saturn are hanging out, we're talking about Venus, who wants to be light, asking Saturn, like, so what is this? What even are we? What is this? I love you. Do you think that's weird? And he says, we met today. So yeah, it's that exact energy. It's like Venus and Saturn hanging out is someone having laid down a boundary or having told you like, hey, I'm not looking for anything serious, or I can't commit to this project long term. I don't think I'm going to be able to return this money. It's things like that you potentially, because of all this like swimmy energy, don't necessarily hear or choose not to hear. And it's very much like, mama, I can change him energy. And you can't change him. Yeah. On top of that, Venus and Saturn are hanging out, right? They're being chummy. Venus is a little bit like, so what's our deal? Saturn's got to chill. Then they're forming a sextile to Uranus. Uranus is the planet of unexpectedness, surprises, volatility. Also, though, innovation, inventions, solutions. So when Venus and Saturn, who are chummy, are seeing Uranus round the way, or really like catty corner, there's a plot twist that could happen. It's something about you all of a sudden realizing like, wait, I'm falling back into this exact same pattern that I used to fall into. Again, with Neptune, it could be like, I've just experienced this, to be quite vulnerable, just a period of drinking way too much. It's one of my most common vices. And there are just periods of the year that really do line up with astrology pretty well, where I just can't drink. Like it just doesn't, I'm too affected by everything to then further depress myself. And I feel like it keeps coming up here because I feel like other people need to hear that. So when Venus and Saturn are hanging out and having this, when Venus is like trying to make Saturn have a light conversation and Saturn is trying to get Venus to have a serious conversation, all of a sudden Uranus is actually, surprise, you're both on the same page, or surprise, you're gonna break up now. So you just want to be on the lookout for, you want to be open. That's all. You just, if you have drawn your boundaries and they're very clear, you want to be for real about what was said to you and what you decided that you could change in somebody or change about yourself. And B, you want to be open to a surprise. And I don't mean, as I say that, I keep getting the image of somebody being like, oh, so maybe he will text me back, or maybe there is hope for this. I don't mean that. Look at whatever severance occurs, if there is a thing like that occurs, that is the surprise. That is like this is what's being taught to you. And because we're talking about Venus and Saturn, we are talking about the karma of relationships. And to be vulnerable again, for the sake of Pisces, I wasn't a late bloomer in relationships. I had relationships throughout my teen years and 20s. And then my 30s have been very much about intuitive and myself and creativity. And therefore, it has made me late, right, to get married or have kids. And that's very Venus and Saturn. Saturn is the planet that requires much more work. And for us, it's grueling and it seems so long because it's years, especially because Saturn is an outer planet. So it takes even longer to move back, okay? And you want to consider where you're not being for real about your relationships. You want to consider why things might be taking longer for you. Again, Venus is also money, right? And because of Libra, it's justice, it's what you deserve. And Saturn hanging out with it right now is just a little bit like, it's holding that last, I just had my first strength training session back with my favorite trainer today, and she had me holding some rows, and it's that moment. Like Venus and Saturn hanging together are the tension of that conversation, and Saturn saying, be calm, don't rush into this, even though for you as a human being, it feels like you've been waiting for your whole life for something. Saturn is, I'm going to really make this worth your time. And then boom, Uranus is, it's me, I'm the surprise. And that will either be, because it's karmic, right? It's Saturn, it's Shiva. It will either be something that gets cut out of your life, something that is illuminated, that all of a sudden you were like, oh my God, now I know the truth of this situation. I know it's easier for me to walk away, even if it hurts. Or it's going to be like oh my God, you're on the same page. Like we're moving in together. Or it's also like the potential for a spark, which actually my friend Melissa Mortimer today, she posted a video about a message that she got intuitively. And it was about friction. And it's so funny because my mom and I, we were talking about how there is like all this uprising and there's so much tension. And this is what I hate the most about this period of time, is like just not feeling like I can relax with people I love, because I'm Venus Saturn. I'm constantly like, do your values align with mine? Does this work long term? And then Uranus, I'm like, oh, I'm surprised by that take. Or, oh, I'm like surprised by that take. And she was saying in her message that the friction is what is needed to create the fire. And my mom and I were saying, like, all these uprisings, all these protests, people waking up, the stock market crash, all of that is the necessary rub for the fire of revolution. Not to be a poet, but Pisces. I think it's really necessary for you to be open this weekend. And I'm making this video specifically about the full moon in Libra, but there's just so much peppering it that I think it's insane to not talk about the rest of it. So let's move on to that. The full moon in Libra occurs on Saturday. This Libra is air. We really want to like inhale and exhale. Something I feel like saying to you is the things that are illuminated about your relationships, you need to look at how you are responding to them. Is somebody hurting you because they are trying to hurt you? Or do they have their own wounds that they're dealing with? Are you reflecting? You are, by the way, spoiler alert, you are reflecting something back to them that is unhealed within them if they feel that. That's also such a hard truth for me because I'm such a feeling person. But I got a lot of trauma in here and I have a lot to work through. And that's the point of life is to work through the things. If you've already worked through all the things, we'll see you on the other side. You know what I mean? So be grateful as often as you can for having things to work through, because it just means that you still have an assignment here. You still have things to learn. So this full moon in Libra, again, Libra is ruled by Venus, which is very beneficial for the moon. And it's a very karmic positioning because this full moon is sitting with the North Node in Pisces. And the North Node is what we've been talking about that we've just shifted into, Pisces and Virgo. And it's the first in a long time where this full moon is hanging out next to this point. Because again, astrology is about degrees. It's not about just like the idea of this happening. It's like literally that they're together. Venus is very exalted because there's already so much Pisces energy. She is stationing direct and the moon is in her other sign. So it is the weekend for femmes. Yes, it might be volatile. It is also, though, a really great weekend to be with the people that make you feel seen and safe. And if they happen to be femmes, then that is a little amped up because of all the Venus. So because Libra is all about the justice system, fairness, partnership, values, money, we are going to see illuminated full moon, all the imbalances there. The full moon is when we're feeling that, right? We're releasing. So this is also a really good weekend to tell people how much you love them and to draw your lines in the sand. Like maybe it is, you know what, this is not a thing that we need to talk about and I can appreciate you for all these other things. Or the line might be, this is my line. And I don't think that if we can't agree on this, I don't think that we're cut out for this friendship. Okay, so on top of the full moon in Libra, Venus stationing direct, us still being in the Mercury retrograde shadow, Neptune having just moved into Aries for the first time in our lives, also, which is leading up to, by the way, a Mercury-Neptune cazimi in Aries, which has also never happened in our lives. We also have the sun hanging out with Chiron. This is honestly the thing. Cazimi literally means like in the heart of. So it's when you're looking at the planets, it's when a planet, Chiron is technically an asteroid / mini planet, but it's when if you're looking, you can see it transit in front of the center of the sun. That's a cazimi. We have Chiron, the wounded healer. Chiron is a really important point for you to look at in your chart. Chiron is moving into the center of the sun and therefore will be on fire. It will be lit up. So all of the, this is what it does. All of the little things that have ever made you feel hurt will be illuminated this weekend. Hopefully though, if you're taking care of the 3D stuff, just drinking is really the only thing that comes up for me with that because I really think it inhibits our ability to know how we're actually feeling, and the frequency with which we do it does really affect our ability to spiritually ascend. It's not ever really going to be me. Don't do anything ever because I like it, but I do really caution you against blurting something out when you're drunk this weekend, if you're drunk this weekend. Especially with the Sun Chiron cazimi. Chiron, it is basically like we're putting a big spotlight on like the things that really hurt you. It's going for the jugular. It's you reliving a breakup. It's you seeing what it is that you have also decided is true about yourself that might not be. And the thing about all this Venus energy is that the spotlight will also be on what needs to happen in order for it to heal. Do you need to lay these boundaries down in your relationships? Do you need to stop drinking? Let me say that again. Is it money that's making you feel the least valuable? What can the long-term plan for that be? And then with the sun hanging out with Chiron, it's just saying you gotta slow down because you ultimately are just a little kid that is in an adult body, and you have to remember that the inner being you came onto the planet with is still the same one, with all of the same soul memories, with all of the same karma, with all the same dharma. Just going to be a weekend of, oh my God, I'm so hard on myself this way, or I'm so hard on other people this way, or oh my God, like I didn't see the truth of this situation or this situationship. So yeah, so that's gonna be fun. Okay, then did I say last thing about the last thing? Because I was lying. Then next thing, I don't know if it's the last because I'm following my notes in order, but the next thing is that Mars, which is in Cancer, is squaring the moon. So this is what makes that weird. So Mars is still in Cancer and it's forming a square, which is never fun. Square is a 90-degree angle, and the moon is here, right? It is being illuminated by the sun over here. That's why it's a full moon. And then Mars in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon and therefore should feel good to it, but doesn't, because Mars in Cancer is the opposite of what Mars likes. It is like the ickiest placement for it. And so basically Mars in Cancer is trying to work with energy that's not really his. And so he's like banging into the moon and making the moon really like crazy. So I will be very curious to see, because there's also that sextile to Uranus. I will be very intrigued to see what is illuminated, what secrets come out, and how things are potentially messed up this weekend. So this full moon in Libra, we're saying full moon in Libra, great. It's ruled by Pisces. That's some great femme energy. That's the arts and wealth and fun and flow. But then we have the Mars in Cancer that is like beating up against or forming a square to the moon. And the moon is just trying to like sunbathe. And so it can create a little bit of like a gnat feeling, like a little bit of breakup energy. So I am curious this weekend if we will see perhaps a billionaire and a president breakup. Like if there will be officially an announcement that is just, oh my God, you got to get out of here. You somehow are worse than us. So that's that. More fun. Okay, so for my cardinal signs, Aries especially, by the way, I'm going on a trip with 4 girls. 3 of them are Aries this weekend, especially if you're an Aries. Cancer if you're a Libra, or Capricorn. Those are the cardinal signs. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. If you have major placements there, you definitely want to see where this is falling for you, because it is pretty significant. This weekend is largely about realizing what within you still needs to be healed. Again, that's the point of everything. It's definitely the point of every full moon. We don't do rituals for full moons, and especially now, again, just wait till May to do the others, do like the good fun stuff. Actually let yourself feel everything. And I think that is probably why over and over again, for some of you, it might not be a good idea to drink this weekend. On the other hand, because of all the Pisces energy, and if you can handle it, then maybe this is a weekend where you just drink wine and sing Adele songs and just let yourself feel. It's pick your poison, kind of literally. You just don't want to bottle it up. If something is starting to come out of you this weekend that you just really need to say, I would hold it here if you can, and then think for a second, but say it. Draw your boundaries, say what you need to say, express your love. That is really important. Let people know, especially the people you're with, how much you love them. Allow yourself to ask for love and affirmation if you need it, and don't be offended if somebody's, you know what, I can't make this work. I'm sorry, I'm just not gonna get to do this thing. I don't have the space to give you that right now. Within reason, you have to leave room for that too. But with this Venus and Saturn conjunction, it's also asking you like, hey, when is the last time that you were able to rely on this connection or this relationship? Or for how long have you been fine with it not being official or it not being like a real, whatever that means. But if you asked for something at the beginning, let's say you've been in a relationship with someone for 5 years, and at the beginning of it, you were like, I am willing to commit to this, but I do want to get married and I want to have kids. And now at this point, it's 5 years later and it's not like on the horizon. This is not this weekend, but this is a good weekend to think about that, allow that to be illuminated. maybe write it down and then have the conversation in a couple weeks. And again, Venus and Saturn, you could say 6 months from now, it's like the time for the ultimatum kind of thing, which also, if you have to give an ultimatum, you know. This is also a great weekend to listen to really nostalgic music and get your feelings out that way, because of all the Pisces energy. You want to create, you want to be artistic, you want to be soft, and that will be very helpful. So now let's talk about these tarot cards. So the cards I got are the Star, Temperance reversed, Six of Wands, and Ace of Cups. So I think because this full moon is in Libra and because there is so much Venus exaltation around it, good Venus energy, I actually think it's a really good weekend for not starting a new relationship, but I do think there's a potential for a spark to happen this weekend. I think because of that Uranus sextile and Uranus being innovation and the internet, I think that getting on apps this weekend is a good idea. I don't know, there's just something that this reading is like very positive. It's very love focused. And the Star is ruled by Aquarius. Aquarius is all about justice, authenticity, and connection. And the Star comes after the Tower in the deck. And the Tower is when the place is burned down. It's the rug pull moment. The Star is all of a sudden, it's your rebirth. It's that first moment that you get a sip of water when you've been thirsty. It's very hopeful. And obviously, because I'm an intuitive, there are so many different interpretations for the cards. And sometimes when the Star comes up, it's a completely different interpretation. But especially because we're talking about this Chiron Kazemi, and that is so, obviously the sun is a star, and also because we're talking about so much Venus and so much Pisces and Venus stationing direct, the Star does feel to me like a rebirth, and it could be a really significant rebirth in a lot of your closest relationships, especially if you have drawn the correct boundaries in your relationship. This could be a weekend, a full moon of surprises and good plot twists. Remember, a full moon, that period of time for that manifestation or that result is 6 months. So when we have the new moon in Libra 6 months from now, you will be able to look back at this and see, I really think a lot of you are entering new relationships over the next 6 months. The summer is very good for meeting people. And if that makes your heart beat out of your chest because like, oh my God, does that mean I need to rush? And if it doesn't happen this summer, it won't happen. By the way, I was about to say, I'm not a psychic, I can't tell you, which is not true. I am a psychic and I could tell you, but as far as collectively goes, I don't know. I can't say exactly how it's going to play out in your life without looking at your chart and pulling your cards and tapping into your guides. But if that is the goal for you, and again, Venus, remember we're talking about money, we're talking about values. If the long-term goal for you is to save money or to be in a committed partnership, these next 6 months are when, after this spotlight is shining on your wounds and what needs to be done, over the course of the next 6 months, I do think a lot of you will be in new and quite committed relationships, because then you have the Temperance reversed, and Temperance is the Sagittarius card, the card of optimism, of philosophy. This is also, there's a really good chance for you to meet somebody that doesn't live where you live, or to meet them while you are traveling. And the Temperance reverse next to the Star really gives me the feeling of I don't know, I keep wanting to say a surprise Sagittarius, but I do think specific people are coming through for this reading. I noticed this in the astrology reading too. I must be like tapped into a few people today, but the Star and Temperance reverse together really make me think of a rebirth that you, Temperance, have been waiting a long time for, reversed, that was taking you longer than other people. Or it's just like something was stalled, you weren't really getting the answers that you needed in a relationship, and now you guys have crossed over that threshold and you've moved into a good period of time. It's like when people talk a lot about the 7-year itch in relationships, this is like year 8. It's like you finally get through that crunchy bit and then you move into the next period of bounty or coalescence before the whatever next karmic lesson comes up or conflict comes up. Because then we have 6 of Wands and Ace of Cups. I really want to say, like, 6 of Wands specifically is notoriety. It's getting recognition for something that you've deserved recognition for a long time, or in a way that you've deserved recognition in a long time. It's that kind of, hey, if I haven't told you lately, like, how much I love you and how much you do for me and how much I admire you, here's that. However, 6 of Wands in this spread, it feels so specific. It really feels like I'm talking to somebody who is perhaps going to start, either your star is going to rise, again, star is going to rise, and you will either like book something or get the recognition that you deserve over the course of the next 6 months, either in a relationship or professionally. But this also to me feels a new relationship starting with somebody that has notoriety, like somebody that is potentially a fire sign. It's striking me as, yeah, I know. And then I went backstage and met him and now we're dating. Like, or even just like somebody with a very good position. Like it could be like, oh yeah, my sister-in-law met this guy and he's me manifesting. He's an orthopedic surgeon in LA and I'm meeting him. It's like that kind of energy. But there is something for sure for somebody about your star rising, you having waited a long time for this, and this could be in several arenas of your life, especially, again, the star is ruled by Aquarius. This feels somebody coming through that finally gives you like, here's this promotion, here's this boon. I don't know, it just feels very karmic. And 6 of Wands, we're talking about the next 6 months, it just feels lucky to me, because then we have the Ace of Cups, which is the beginning of a love story. It's technically, I don't call it a beginning as much as I call it like the field of potential around something. So there's a lot of potential for a new love story to start. And I think for somebody pretty specific that's watching this, just keep your ear to the ground, be aware of who's coming into your orbit right now, because it might be somebody that really is meant to stay. Again, though, going back to the astrology, don't start any new connections like hot and heavy for the next 2 weeks. Just see where it takes you. And if anything started in the last 6 weeks, wait, just let it sift through, process it, see if it's actually right for you. But yeah, so I think for this full moon in Libra, the cards are saying there is a rebirth coming. We've waited a long time for it. I also think with the 6 of Wands, this is of somebody in a position of leadership with the Temperance reversed that gets long overdue justice. And that begins a new love story for us collectively, because it will help us. So that's something to be aware of too. I gotta be honest, I'm pretty wiped. So that's all I'm gonna say about the cards, because it actually, I think this is the first time I've done a reading where it feels like I'm talking to somebody specific. So if that's you, let me know, because I am curious, and definitely let me know over the next 6 months what happens. I know things are scary out there, and they just are. But above all, let's just do our best. Bye.